Show. John Cobell, Ken Chiampou, KFI, AM 640, more stimulating talk radio.
Hey, welcome on in. This is another way to talk about Jerry Brown's Brown Toggle, the California high-speed rail.
The crazy train, as Republican candidate Neil Kashkari calls it.
Yeah, he just entered the race last week, and one of the things he said in his opening statement says he is going to try to dethrone Jerry Brown as our governor. When he talked about high-speed rail, he called it the crazy train. By the way, Neil Kashkari will be in studio Thursday at 3 p.m. That is the plan, to have him in here for half an hour.
He's going to sit in the Paul Tanaka Memorial Chair.
Well, yeah, we don't really have any scandals that I know of to question him over. If you people have any suggestions, we'll listen to them. Neil Kashkari used to work in the United States Treasury Department. More recently, worked for an investment firm in Orange County, but he's now running to replace Jerry Brown. As you know, it's an open primary system, so whoever finishes first and second would meet in November after a June vote. You also got Tim Donnelly, and I'm sure there'll be other people entered in the race, but we'll see what Neil Kashkari is going to do if he becomes governor Thursday at 3. But we already like the crazy train thing, and we got news about the crazy train.
Yeah. Jerry Brown is a corrupt governor.
That's all you need to say.
He's absolutely corrupt, and he's taking legalized bribes to keep the crazy train going. And here's the story we got from John Harabi, a website called calnewsroom.com. They track all the shenanigans that go on in Sacramento. And Harabi writes, Governor Jerry Brown asked the California Supreme Court to block delays to the state's high-speed rail project just 3 days after accepting the maximum campaign contribution from the state's high-speed rail contractor. Tudor Perini has more than $1 billion in contracts with high-speed rail.
Oh, they're the big one, yeah.
$1 billion. And a judge has blocked the construction. So they've donated $27,200 to the Jerry Brown re-election campaign. 3 days later, Jerry Brown files the appeal with the California Supreme Court. That's clearly corruption.
I wonder if somebody at the Brown re-election committee reached out and said, if you'd like the governor to take a little action on your behalf, you might want to sweeten the pot here. Even though he's got massive amounts and apparently his only declared opponents, Tim Donnelly and Neil Kashkari, as you mentioned, don't have anywhere near the money Brown has.
This is all legal, but this is our system of corruption. Legalized corruption. Tudor Perini obviously wants the $1 billion of your tax money to build the stinking train. Obviously, the train should not be built. But they want the money. And Brown says, okay, write me a check for $27,000. We'll file for the appeal. We'll try. We may lose, but we'll try. And Tudor Perini says, all right, here's your $27,000. $27,000. Maybe if you win in court, you end up getting $1 billion. It's a good risk. It's a good investment to take, right? Investing $27,000, you might get a return of $1 billion.
Now, you people have heard us talk time and time again how keeping the Brown Doggle alive, the crazy train alive, trying to break ground in the Central Valley to convince people that despite these court decisions, it's too late to turn back, is all to reward people like Tudor Perini, friends, contractors. Everybody's got their hands in the pie. And yeah, what do you know? Some of them turn around and donate to Jerry Brown's re-election campaign. This is how it works.
Now, we have a governor that's for sale. He sells. He just sold an appeal to the Supreme Court. Can you imagine that? He's selling an appeal to the Supreme Court for $27,000. We have the paperwork here.
Yeah, we do.
It's called the Late Contribution Report. Name of filer, Brown for Governor 2014.
He hasn't actually announced he's running again, but he's already got a re-election committee, Brown for Governor 2014.
Yeah, because he is running. So we've got the ID number, we've got the phone number, and then look here, it says January 21st, 2014, Tudor Perini, Sylmar, California, $27,200 amount received.
I wonder if they give him all the time, though. Not that this wasn't connected to this.
Well, that's how they got the $1 billion contract to begin with. This is an ongoing relationship. This is how the world works. So now, let's see. They want to spend, and realistically, it's going to be like, $100 billion. It's not high-speed rail anymore. It's slow-speed rail. You know all about the lies. you know all about the deception. This is criminal work. Any private company that engaged in these kind of business tactics, the executives would be sent to prison. It would be a huge. This is like Enron stuff. It's just flat out criminal. It's lies, it's deception, it's dirty business tactics, except they want our money. They want hundreds of billions of dollars of our money.
And this corrupt governor is doing everything he can in the face of these court decisions to keep the crazy train going, like giving the cap and trade money over. We told you last week in his new budget address, he wants to lend like $29 million of your tax money from the general fund to the crazy train. He's just because they're in a lot of trouble. The federal funding is limited. It's just a few $1 billion. It won't even build that first segment. The court has basically said you can't touch the $10 billion in bond funds now. So in order to just get this down the road, kick this can a little further, he's trying to funnel cap and trade money. He's trying to funnel borrowed money from the general fund to it. He's got his buddies giving him campaign contributions so he can appeal to the courts to overturn these court decisions. It's not in your interest.
See, the Superior Court Judge Michael Kenney looked at the original proposition that led to the borrowing to fund slow-speed rail.
Prop 1A, as it was known.
And what Kenney said, and it's not that he's a legal genius, anybody with a brain could see, that you had to produce your funding. Before you spent the borrowed money, you had to show where your outside funding is. That's what it says. The judge said you don't have any outside funding. So until you get the outside funding, you can't spend the $9 billion in borrowed money. Now, Jerry Brown's attorneys, after Brown sold the appeal, they're now arguing to the state Supreme Court that the future of the rail system may be determined by two Superior Court rulings untethered from the law approved by the legislature and the voters to build it. Well, that's a complete lie. Because the law, the proposition clearly says you have to have outside money in order to use the borrowed money. You must, among other things.
Yeah.
And clearly they're in violation, and Kenney just read what's in front of him in black and white, the same way you and I would. And that's why he came to the ruling.
I love, Jerry Brown as attorneys. I like politicians who, the people have spoken and the legislature supports it. How dare the courts intervene? Well, that's because you're trying to go around what the people voted for.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple.
You lied to the people.
That's what the courts have to do sometimes. They have to interpret the law. They have to figure out what's in the law, what was intended in the law, and then what you're actually doing to circumvent the law.
Jerry Brown is a liar. Jerry Brown lied about Prop 30, said the money was going to go for education. It's not going for education. But he got his tax increase, massive tax increase. Now there's a huge surplus. It turns out he didn't need the tax increase. He lied about the condition of the budget, and he lied about where the money was going to go. And now he and his attorneys are lying to the California Supreme Court, claiming that the lower judge's ruling has nothing to do with the law, which is false. You read the law, clearly the judge is right. Jerry Brown and the slow-speed rail criminals are violating the law repeatedly, have lied to the public repeatedly. Brown keeps lying the way he lied about Prop 30. The way he lied about where the money was going to go. He's lying about high-speed rail. He's taking legalized bribes from Tuta Perini. I mean, a governor who sells appeals to the California Supreme Court.
And I thought that the $27,200 was a cheap bribe, but the last line of the story, which, by the way, came to us from John Robbie from calnewsroom.com, is the maximum campaign contribution to statewide candidates is $27,200. Yeah. So they gave all they could to.
I don't care what party you want as governor, but you shouldn't take a liar and a guy who gets bribed to sell Supreme Court appeals. You want a Democrat, go find another guy. This is disgusting. I mean, this is really gross. I mean, seriously, you see all the crap Chris Christie has taken in Jersey over the traffic cones?
Oh, the Bridgegate?
Yeah. Look at this. This is actually going to cost $100 billion or more of your money.
Man, this is by far a bigger, more expensive scandal.
How come this doesn't get covered? Christie gets covered. Whether he's right or wrong, it got covered for a week over 3 lanes of traffic being stopped. This is going to cost us $100 billion. It's built on lies, massive deception. A judge is calling him on it, and he sells the Supreme Court appeal for $27,000 because Tudor Perini's got $1 billion in contracts outstanding?
All right.
Where's the scandal? Where's the big investigation here?
All right, when we come back, well, the Occupy people have returned in 2014. Well, not literally, but it looks like tomorrow night in his State of the Union speech, Obama's going to talk a lot about income inequality, and it looks like Mayor Garcetti has boarded the same train. We'll talk about it next.
John and Ken Show. Shannon has the news.